Hey guys, this is section 1.5a. We're going to separate section 5 into two different part A and part B. So this is the first half. This is our first introduction into angles. So we're going to talk a lot about angles. Today we're going to talk about how we measure them and how we name them, and then tomorrow we'll get into some more mathy type stuff. All right. So, go over a few vocab words, not too bad. An angle is just a geometric figure formed by two sides that converges at a common point called the vertex. Okay, so what I mean is here's a side, here's a side, so you have two sides that come together at this point right here called the vertex. Okay, so two sides in a vertex, that makes an angle. So as we probably just noticed, the vertex is the point where the two straight lines meet, or the two sides of the angles meet, comes together at a vertex. The interior of an angle is the angle between both sides of the geometric figure. So if I had to highlight the interior, this here is the interior. This is the angle interior. Okay, that'd be the interior of the angle. And then, like you probably know, the exterior would be everything on the outside, right? All around here. So the exterior is the angles that contain all points outside of an angle. All right, here's some vocabulary you probably should know. If you don't, that's okay, but you really need to learn these. So an acute angle would be an angle that measures more than 0 degrees, but less than 90, okay? So this would be an acute angle because this is less than 90 degrees. Okay, a right angle then, it measures exactly 90 degrees. So that looks something like this. Now we designate a 90-degree angle by a little bitty box in the corner. Try that again. There we go. Sorry guys. There we go. So anytime you see this, this tells you it's a right angle, okay, or 90-degree angle. An obtuse angle is an angle that measures more than 90, so more than 90 degrees, but less than 180 degrees. So that would be something like that, where this is bigger than 90, but clearly it's not quite 180. A straight angle, guys, it's just an angle that measures 180 degrees. So let me see if I can find my pen. There we go. 180 degrees. And a straight angle would look like a straight line, okay? So here to here is 180 degrees. And then congruent angles, guys, if you know your vocab, a lot of these will start being redundant. Like you should know what a congruent angle is without me telling you, would be two angles that have the same measure, because that's what congruent means. Same measure. So maybe, maybe we have this angle and this angle where this measure is the same as this measure. So maybe they're both 42 degrees. And kind of like segments, you'll have the same arc looking things for congruent angles. All right, guys, let's look at ways to name angles. Now there's a few different ways to name angles. Some will always work, some will not always work. So you've got to be kind of careful. So the easiest way to name three angles, the easiest way to not make a mistake, is just to name them with 3 letters, the middle being the vertex. Okay, so what always works is 3 letters, the middle one, is the vertex. Okay, so like this one, we can name it angle PQR, and we always put the angle symbol PQR. The way I do it is if I go from P to Q, Q to R, yeah, I make that angle. Okay, so PQR will always work. Likewise, I can go the other way. So I could say angle RQP, because when I draw the letters that I say, I'm still creating that same angle. So angle RQP. Okay. Last but not least, sometimes you can name it with one angle or with one letter, I'm sorry, and that is the vertex. So angle Q would be a third way we could name this angle. Now be very, very careful. Okay, I'm going to draw up here. So say I have a couple angles that look like this. So here's A, B, C, and D. Okay, I could not name this angle B. Okay, can't do it, it won't work. Because if I do, well, am I talking about this angle B? Or am I talking about this angle B? Or am I talking about this whole angle B? Like, what angle B am I referring to, okay? So anytime there's more than one angle at a vertex, you cannot name it by a single letter. Okay, so this one here, there's only one angle at vertex Q, so you can name it angle Q. All right, so here, I'm actually going to put down 4 on this one. I know it says 3. So we can name this angle, don't forget your angle sign, we can name it X, Y, Z. We can name it angle Z, Y, X. We can name it angle Y. Last but not least, sometimes if an angle is used over and over and over again, the author puts a number on the inside of it. And that number represents the angle's name. We can do angle 1. Okay, now I want you to do number 3 by yourself. I want you to come up with, actually, I know the instructions say 3, but I want you to come up with the 4 names that you could call this angle. Make sure you put your angle symbol. All right, you should have come up with angle 2, angle E, angle FED, and angle DEF. And those would be the only 4 ways you can name angle 3. All right, let's look at exploration 1. You guys should have learned in middle school how to use a protractor, but we'll practice again. If you're still confused, you may want to find a video on YouTube or something, just how to use a protractor. It's not very difficult. So here we want to look at angle AOB for A. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to decide, okay, what does angle AOB look like? So I'm going to go and I'm just going to trace angle A to O to B. That was not a very good trace, I'm sorry. Let me try that again. This tablet's hard to work with, guys. All right, let me try one more time. Angle A to O to B, that's better. Okay, so I'm looking at this angle right here. Okay, so notice this angle right here is the angle between these 2 markings. Okay, the angle right here, and it doesn't matter, you can either use the big or the little. I'm going to use the little letter, is 40, and this one is 0. So from 0 to 40, that's 40 degrees. Okay, now let's do B. So let's look at angle BOC. Okay, so I'm looking at this angle here, which is from this to this. Okay, now I can look here and I can say, well, that's from, if I look at the top number, that's from 115 to, what is it, 145? Or I can look at the bottom number and I can say, well, that's from 65 to, what is it, 35. It doesn't matter which way you do it. Because if you take the absolute value of both, oops, sorry guys, this is 30 degrees. And if you take the absolute value of this, this is also 30 degrees. So this would be a 30-degree angle. All right, I'm going to stop. I want you to do the rest on your own, and then we will go over them. All right, so let's do the last few. That way you can check yourself. Come on. All right, so angle COE I got is 80. Angles BOD is 75. Make sure you're putting your degree symbol. Angle AOC I got as 65, 110, 45, and 145. If you got any of those wrong, either A, you're looking at the wrong angle, like maybe you misinterpreted which angle it wanted, or B, when you subtracted the two numbers, one on each side, you subtracted incorrectly. Remember, in this class, angle measures will always be positive. All right, guys, let's look at example 2. For example 2, we're going to be using this diagram at the right. In part A, it just says identify the congruent angles labeled in the quilt design. Well, if we look at these, you guys see these double arcs for F and D? Well, that means that angle F is congruent to angle D. Okay, now I know on your black and white copies it's kind of hard to see and it's easy to overlook, but it's a lot easier to see on this colored copy. You can also see that there's a single arc at G and a single arc at B, so you could also say that angle G is congruent to angle B. Now we could have used 3 letters for all of these, and that'd be okay too for those angles, but just to keep it short and sweet, I'm just going to use 1 because we can. There's only one angle at that particular vertex. All right, so on part B, it says the measure of angle ADC, so let's look at this. ADC is right there, so it's talking about this double arc is 140 degrees. What is the measure of EFG? Okay, well, this is also a double mark, right? And we just set up here that angle F and angle D are congruent. So if ADC is 140, what does that mean about angle F? Angle F is 140. So measure of angle EFG equals 140 degrees. Now, guys, I probably should have said anytime you see an M in front of this, it's just the measure of. Okay, let's do part C, and then we'll have one construction and be done here. It says without measuring is angle DAB, so DAB would be D here, A here, B here, congruent to FEH. FEH. What do you guys think? I'm going to say no, because angle DAB looks like a 90-degree angle, so I'm going to put approximately 90 degrees. Okay, give or take, it looks like a 90-degree angle. But how would you classify angle FEH? I would say it looks obtuse. So can an angle that's 90 degrees and an angle that's obtuse ever be congruent? Absolutely not.